ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome aboard the Spitfire Vc. Now, this was one of my last matches of patch 1.37, at least one of the last matches that I recorded, and what a way to go out. Now, the Spitfire Vc, well, it wasn't a particularly popular aircraft in 1.37 or previous patches, despite having 4 Hispano cannons. The reason why is because it was a particularly expensive aircraft to run. It had a very high repair cost, and add on to that, it wasn't incredibly fast. Most of the Spitfire line, as it goes down, the aircraft get progressively less manoeuvrable, heavier, and faster as they go along. The Spitfire Vc is a bit different from that. It has 4 Hispanos, and it's the first Spitfire to get a 4 Hispano armament. However, it doesn't gain speed as all the others did. It was a particularly light aircraft and highly manoeuvrable. It also had a very low stall speed of only 100 km an hour. Now, I'm unsure how this aircraft is performing in 1.38. I haven't had a chance to test it yet. But excluding the repair costs involved, this made this the ideal aircraft for going into battle against these bloody things, the I-185. Now, we've just engaged in combat. The I-185 has used its superior speed and dive speed to try and outperform me. He's hoped I would continue the dive and rip my wings, but I plateaued out, maintained speed, and then reinitiated the dive once I got below the overspeed warning, and I'm now using the energy advantage that I had in order to pull in on him. Now, you'll notice I'm using heavy throttle control here. The Spitfire Vc will in 1.37 at least, would never outrun an I-185. It just couldn't do it. So you couldn't beat it by using the throttle at full power. You had to beat the I-185 by actually dropping your throttle back and using superior manoeuvrability to, well, never give it a chance to get guns on you. See, I've just put a couple of hits in on the target. I'm keeping the throttles low. I almost pull in front of the guns there, but I roll at last minute to pull myself out. I'm keeping the throttle at about 70%. I actually want to lose speed in the vertical so I can drop back in on the target's tail. I go back to Wep to regain speed as he's pulling ahead, and there's the kill. And a Yak 9P shows up, so I'll have a shot at him too. Now, unfortunately, killing the I-185 left me in a low energy state. I'm on the very edge of stall. I don't want to dive immediately, however, as this will give the 3P a chance to pull in on my tail. I wait till he's in a position where he's beginning a dive to continue his turn before I drop the nose, dropping myself back to an acceptable level of speed. Unfortunately, it leaves too much of a gap, and the XP50 comes in and takes the kill, but it was a damn good shot by him. Good show. But you can see in that turn, the incredibly low stall speed of the 5C means that even though I was only doing a little over 100 km an hour, I could still keep the nose up and maintain the turn at altitude. I couldn't climb, but maintain the turn with the target without having to drop my nose. Now, just searching for fresh targets. I know there is an LA-5 in the area near their enemy base, but I'm looking for other things at the moment. Something that's closer and something that shouldn't take so much to kill. I've only got 208 rounds of ammunition after engaging the I-185 and the Yak 3P. So I'm checking out AI, I'm just having a look around to see something else that I'm going to empty my guns into before I return to base, and I spot a dot in the distance. So just continuing flight. I'm curious on what that dot is. Either way, I'm going to probably attack it, regardless of what it turns out to be. AIIL-2 back there. You see there's another Spitfire off to my left that's also spotted the dot. We're both closing in, and the dot's moved out of position. He's got a better angle on it, but it's a Year 2. We're 9Ks out, we're both moving to engage. Now, this is one of the drawbacks of the 5C. Interception speed is very low on this aircraft. As you can see, I'm running full WEP at the moment, and I'm only just breaking 400 km an hour. This is as fast as it gets in level flight. But once it gets to a target, unless the enemy aircraft has the speed to be able to simply outrun you, you can pull it apart. Once you're there as a defensive fighter, in close range, it is lethal. Now it's moving in. It looks like the Ur-2 managed to kill the Spitfire that was coming into it using the tail gunners. That means this aircraft is dangerous. The manual gunner on it, or the pilot of the aircraft, is very good with the manual guns. So I need to make this quick and fast. I can't afford to hang around, otherwise I'll likely get chewed to pieces. I also can't really afford to miss. With only just over 200 rounds of ammunition, I have to be very accurate and to the point with this aircraft. So I'm looking at, on something like the Ur-2, the easiest way to take them down is to take out the tail. If you strip out the elevators and rudder on a Ur-2, they're pretty much guaranteed to go in. Now there's that LA5 in the background. He's 20 k's away, so I'm not particularly concerned about him at this time. He looks like he's being engaged, and I think this is maybe the last kill of this match. And then I see our allied blue dot disappear. The LA5 has just taken a kill. Maybe he's going to be more dangerous. I might have to go deal with him later. So I have the altitude advantage on the Ur. I want to stay high and above and make this one simple boom. Now, the Spitfire 5C is not known for its boom capabilities. Just because it isn't known for it, however, doesn't mean you cannot do it. So in the dive, over 500 kilometers an hour, Ur's just crossing the river, take aim, all shots on the tail, the elevator falls off, and in she goes. Now that kill only took 77 rounds of ammunition, left me on 122, but I figured it was time to return to base, get some fresh ammo, and get back into the fight with a full load. So I'm back with 450 on board, or 480 I should say. Now, that LA5 has been having a ball with the rest of my team. He's taken yet another kill while I've been reloading. So I've climbed to altitude and I've just been flying in towards the enemy base. And he's just circling his own runway, letting the flak, as you can see here, provide him a little bit of defense. He pulls up to make a move on me, so I dip down, pull 90 to target, then turn to full underneath, take it into the vertical and hit WEP. I want to maintain speed while I'm through the climb. Pass over and fall into tail, continue the WEP to keep the dive speed up. So I'm going to go back into the vertical again. The LA5 pulls into a climb. Move to follow. Now I'm going to overshoot him here, so I back the throttle right off. Kill the WEP. Let gravity slow the plane a little. Pull the throttle back a little more, back to 58%. I don't want to duck underneath this guy. If I do, he'll fall onto my tail and kill me. And we form into a death spiral. Now, this is a fight that the LA5 will never win. He knows it, so he breaks out. Puts it into a steeper dive to try and pull away. Take a shot and miss. Let gravity go through the loop and then punch the throttle back into WEP as I go back into the climb to try and maintain what speed that I have. Now I've only got a limited window here, but I do have a very low stall speed, so I try to take some shots in the vertical. They miss, but I ride my stall speed. Now I'm under 100 kilometers an hour, so the nose is dropping, but I'm trying to keep it up because I want him to get beneath me before I begin my dive, so I can fall back onto his tail. Take some more speculative shots. I get a hit, and it's a good solid hit. I don't realise it at the time, but that shot actually killed his engine. Keep the WEP on and follow him down. The LA5 is faster in a dive, although I am gaining on him. The reason why, however, is because his engine has passed out. He manoeuvres to avoid the XP50, it overshoots. I pull in nice and close, and there's the engine shut down. So an easy kill. And that was the end of the match. Swing it back around to take a crack at AA, and well, let's go check out the results. Unfortunately, I missed the ground kill, but I come in at third place with 3 kills, 68,540 silver lions, 9,120 mod research points, and 6,840 aircraft research points. But being as this was a 1.37 battle, I had no aircraft to research at the time, which is a shame. This was an X2 on a premium account. So that was my last battle in the 5C, and one of the last battles that I recorded in 1.37, and it was fun. It shows the Spitfire 5C has always been a little bit of an underrated aircraft, and it's mostly avoided due to that excessive repair costs that it carries. But in the right circumstances, this is a very good counter to aircraft that, well, at the time of 1.37, had the manoeuvrability of things like the I-185. This plane could easily counter every advantage it had, except raw speed. So, time to flick on that internet radio and go back to patch 1.38, and this was my first flyout in the F6F in this patch. Now, in this battle I'm flying along with Drazimo. He's one of my subs and also has his own YouTube channel. Now, Draz is a damn good pilot, but he's mainly focused down the British line. As a result, this is one of his first ever battles in the F6F. He's got very little progression in the US line at this time. Being a Brit, he is tend to focus on his national aircraft. So this was an interesting battle for him. Now, the flyout was pretty much uneventful. We've taken up to altitude and we've spotted a BF-109 and a premium P-47. We've split up. He's taken the P-47. I'm going on after the 109. I just found out it's an E3 model. And following it through manoeuvres in the clouds. And this is one of the most important part of actually flying in a group, is having coordination between you. That P-47 could give me a world of trouble while I'm in this fight, but because my wingman is making sure that P-47 can come nowhere near me, I easily have the time I need to dive through the clouds and take my first kill of the match. E3, however, not much of a challenge. Now I'm max power out of the clouds, bring it around. Draz is still on the tail of the P-47, but a Focke-Wulf 190 is moving to engage him. Now this is one of the new A1s. I haven't actually flown my A1 yet, it has been unlocked, but I'm yet to take it out. And this was the first time I've ever actually had to fight one. Now since he's on that 47, I let him know that I'm going to remove the 190 from his tail. It makes a second pass at him there, he moves to avoid. And with the 190 now going in the opposite direction, I move in to make sure it's not a problem. There is another P-47 at high altitude, and I am a little concerned about that. Take it into the vertical and run the guns straight across the side. Shut down the WEP, let gravity help me with the stall turn. Back to full power to pursue the 190 in a dive. Now I'm assuming this 190A1 is not fully upgraded. I had very little issue maintaining speed with it through a dive. I imagine fully upgraded, those things will have an advantage when it comes to going towards the ground. Pulls back for altitude, it's trying to loop around and barrel roll itself out of the way. Following a hard turn, I've killed the WEP. Pull the nose up and let gravity slow me down just a little bit and bring the nose back around into a second stall turn to bring the guns on. Bring them over the target, second kill. It's just so relaxing shooting down fighters to the sounds of the 1940s, isn't it? Now at this point, Draz and me have been split up. I know he's above and behind me by about almost 5 kilometres, and he's killed his P-47, but the second P-40 has dropped into the area and is really working over a couple of our fighters. So I've now got to regain altitude as fast as I can to try and catch myself back into a position where I can give him assistance. Now the 47's just boomed our P-38G and our Spitfire and is now bugging out of the area. Me and Draz are moving in for the kill. But the premium P-47 pilot knows he's in a world of trouble. He knows he's got 3 fighters below him and at least 3 at equal altitude to him. At this point in time he hasn't got visual on me, but he will in the next few seconds as I pop through the clouds. At this point he can now see me coming, and he can see Draz above and to my left. So he does the smart thing to do. Not always considered to be the bravest thing to do, but the smart thing to do. He's running back for his airfield to try and find himself some AAA cover so he can turn around and engage the fighters without, being completely outnumbered and outmaneuvered. He does turn back to make a pass. And takes out one of our fighters. I moved to try and get a shot, but I missed. I didn't lead enough. takes some speculative shots at range, but they were never going to hit. Dravs dives in to do exactly the same thing, but the P-47 is easily capable of outdiving both our aircraft. So all we can do is move to follow. Now Draz has a panic moment there. Being used to flying Spitfires, he wasn't used to high dive speeds. When you start bunching 700 kilometers an hour in a Spitfire, they tend to start going into overspeed. So he pulls back up to keep a little bit of altitude and works out quickly that the plane is capable of well and truly more than that. But it wasn't such a bad thing. Pulling up when he did and going into level flight means while I'm flying at equal level to the P-47, he now has an altitude advantage and he's just above and behind me. He's not far back, giving him a far better position to boom this P-47. Has dropped his altitude here to give him an airspeed advantage closing on this P-47, and since he was in the better position I decided I'm going to play the bait. So I've told him to continue on with the P-47. I'm going to roll in and make his job easier, however, and drop the nose down and move to engage the runway AA. This makes me, well, not only does it remove some of the AA guns that are shooting at us while we're over this airfield, it turns me into bait. He calls out to let me know it's incoming. I loop over and turn immediately, and the P-47 overshoots, unable to get guns on, and Draz is immediately fallen onto the 47. Take a slight hook from flak there, but not even enough to bring the paper doll up. I just keep the wet fired to close in. Now the P-47's in a manoeuvre. I can catch it, but Draz has done his job well. He fired his shot straight and true, and he's taken the elevator straight off the P-47. And down she goes. And that was the end of the match, so let's go check out the results. So I come into the match with 2 air kills and 2 ground kills, 3rd place overall. The Terror of the Sky and the Bulletproof Awards. Draz comes in with 2 air kills as well, which is damn good for a person who's barely ever flown his F6F before. End results was 30,873 Silver Lions, 1,913 mod research points, which finished off my mounting point for weapons, for ordnance, and 1,263 air research points, but only on a 65% reward, and that's because I'm researching the F-84 at this time. So, the F6F, not really a lot has changed since 1.37. It still does everything pretty much the same as it always did, and it's still an exceptionally good fighter. I think it is going to be a bit interesting in the future, as people that get the new 190s fully unlocked and up to capability is going to give it a little bit of competition, and now the 109s have been fixed. While the E-Series is still no challenge for it, this thing will face F4s. And I think F4s will give this thing a real run for their money, which is good all round. It means for some really interesting fights in the future, and I'm always loving a good fight. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.